The morning sun spills across the driveway, glinting off the hood of my old, cherry red Honda Civic, or at least it used to. I grip the edge of the garage door, the metal cold beneath my fingertips, and the air smells faintly of gasoline and cut grass. My stomach twists. I had promised myself I'd wash it today, wax it, make it shine for the weekend trip with my little brother, Ethan. That car wasn't just metal and tires. It was my first taste of freedom, my late-night escape, my small rebellion against the chaos at home. "Ethan, are you ready?" I call, my voice unusually loud in the still morning. The only reply is the soft bark of Daisy, our golden retriever, wagging her tail at the edge of the garage. He doesn't appear, and the sound of my own heartbeat seems deafening. I step closer to the driveway, and my stomach sinks. The Honda isn't there. My chest tightens, fingers trembling, as if I can somehow reach out and bring it back. Instead, all I see is the cracked asphalt and the faint smear of tire marks that don't belong to my car. Panic rises in a dull, heavy wave. "Mom? Dad?" My voice cracks, bouncing off the garage walls. The faint smell of fresh paint from the house next door mingles with the gasoline, a smell I've grown to associate with safety, but today it only deepens the unease. The air feels thicker, warmer, almost mocking. My phone buzzes. It's a message from Mom. "We had to take care of some things. Don't worry." No explanation, no call. I reread it 3 times, each word harder than the last. My hands curl into fists. My first thought is denial. They couldn't have. They wouldn't. Not my car. Not the Civic I spent hours cleaning, the Civic I practically lived in when the world felt too heavy. I glance back toward the garage, and Daisy nudges my leg. Her soft whine makes my chest ache. I kneel to scratch behind her ears, wishing the warmth of her fur could shield me from the sting of betrayal. Ethan appears finally, backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes wide, pale. "Where's my car?" he asks, voice small, almost a whisper. The innocence in his face pierces me sharper than anything else. I swallow hard, forcing out a smile. I don't know, baby. Maybe it's just gone for a ride. I joke, but it comes out hollow. His small shoulders slump, and Daisy whines again, pawing at my knee. I wander to the street, eyes scanning the neighboring driveways, hoping it was parked wrong, hoping it's just a prank, anything but gone. A faint hum of an engine elsewhere in the neighborhood mocks me. I pull my phone again, trying to reach Dad. No answer. 1, 2, 3 calls. Voicemail. The neighbor's blinds twitch. I catch a glimpse of Mrs. Reynolds holding her coffee cup, eyebrows raised, her gaze heavy with judgment or perhaps curiosity. I feel exposed, vulnerable, like the world is quietly noting my loss while I'm paralyzed in the middle of the driveway. And then it hits, the heavy, sinking certainty. My parents sold it. Not lent it, not borrowed it, sold it. My hands shake, my chest burns, and for a moment, I am utterly alone. I think about all the late nights I spent polishing that car, teaching Ethan how to drive in the empty parking lot, laughing over burned pancakes after our early Saturday trips. And now, empty asphalt and silence are all that remain. I sit on the curb, Daisy leaning into me, Ethan clutching my sleeve, and I stare at the horizon where the morning sun should feel warm but feels cruel instead. Somewhere inside, a small flicker of hope refuses to die. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe they'll come running, apologetic, clutching my keys. But deep down, I know that flicker is fragile. And fragile hope has a way of shattering when you need it most. The mailbox rattles, but it's just the wind. I inhale sharply, trying to steady my heartbeat. The Civic isn't coming back on its own. The first real taste of betrayal hits me, sharp, bitter, undeniable. And for the first time this morning, I feel the quiet sting of realization. My world just changed. I dialed Mom's number again, hope clinging to my voice like a fragile thread. "Mom, please, can you tell me where the car went?" My fingers are slick with sweat, heart hammering in my chest. Silence. Then finally a sigh, almost dismissive. "It's fine, Chloe. Don't overreact. We had to take care of things," she says, voice flat, rehearsed, like a script she's been practicing for years. Her words scrape against me, each one heavier than the last. I want to shout, to demand justice, but my voice catches in my throat. Ethan tugs at my sleeve, small fingers trembling. Chloe, why didn't they tell us? His wide eyes, glossy with unshed tears, are a mirror of the confusion twisting inside me. I kneel beside him, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. I don't know, baby. I don't know. My voice is soft, shaky, trying to shield him from the full weight of betrayal, but even I know it's impossible. I step outside and glance at the empty driveway again. The neighbor's car alarms hum faintly in the distance. Across the street, Jeremy, our next-door neighbor and the only adult who's ever truly noticed Ethan and me, leans on his fence. His gaze is steady, sympathetic. He doesn't speak yet, letting us sink into the quiet ache of the moment, but I know he sees it. The unfairness. The small tragedy of losing something so ordinary, yet so personal. Inside, the remnants of breakfast mock me. A half-melted pancake on the plate, syrup congealing at the edges, the coffee cold in my mug. Every little detail is a reminder that life goes on outside my bubble of despair, indifferent to the sting of betrayal. I glance at the car keys hanging on the hook, empty and mocking, like a tiny ghost of freedom I once owned. A text pings. It's Dad. You're making too big a deal. It's just a car. My fingers hover over the screen, wanting to reply with everything I'm feeling, every ounce of frustration, but I don't. Not yet. Instead, I draw my phone onto the counter, its vibrations echoing like a tiny accusation. I pull Ethan onto the couch and wrap him in a tight hug. We'll figure this out, I whisper, but I don't even fully believe it myself. I think back to every time my parents promised something and didn't deliver, birthdays forgotten, allowances withheld, opportunities dismissed. This car was supposed to be different, my little anchor in a chaotic world. And now, that anchor has been ripped away. Jeremy's voice drifts over the fence again. Need a ride somewhere? He always knows when to appear, when a quiet ally can be more powerful than 1,000 angry words. I force a grateful smile, shaking my head. Not yet. I need to process this. Need to understand the scope of the loss. I step back outside, Ethan's small hand in mine, and for a fleeting moment, I imagine my parents standing there, apologetic, realizing what they've done. But the image fades, replaced by the cold reality. They've sold the car, and it's gone. The sense of betrayal sinks deeper. Every promise I thought I could rely on crumbles in slow motion. Ethan's voice, trembling and small, breaks through my spiral. Are we ever going to get it back? I swallow hard, brushing the tears that I didn't even know were forming. I smile at him, weakly, painfully, but it's the first lie I've told today. We'll see, baby. We'll see. I close my eyes and take a deep breath. I feel the weight of disappointment settle in my chest, cold and heavy. The day that started with sun and warmth now feels thick, oppressive, like the air itself is conspiring to keep me down. And yet, somewhere beneath the sting, a quiet ember begins to glow. If this is how it feels to be powerless, maybe, just maybe, there's a way to regain that power. The mailbox rattles again. I ignore it. This time, it doesn't even spark hope. The first wave of heartbreak has passed. What remains is numbness and determination, subtle and persistent, starting to thread its way through the ache. It's strange how memory works. The sting of betrayal makes the past sharper, clearer, like sunlight glinting off broken glass. I sit on my bedroom floor later that evening, Ethan asleep on the couch, and I let the memories flood in. I remember the first time Dad asked me to cover one of his bills. I was 15, working part-time at the grocery store, saving every penny for a summer road trip with friends. The call came while I was stocking shelves. Chloe, you're the responsible one. Could you handle this little thing for me? Just $120, he said, smooth, persuasive. I transferred the money without hesitation, proud of being trusted. That pride twisted into resentment later when I realized he had never planned to pay me back. Mom was subtle, the emotional manipulator. She had a way of making me feel guilty for wanting small things: a new laptop, extra art supplies, even my driver's license. "You don't need it. Think about your brother," she'd say, voice soft but sharp, planting a seed of doubt. And I did. I always thought of Ethan first. Always sacrificed. Always overextended myself. My teenage years are littered with these invisible debts. Borrowed clothing, car insurance fees just for a month, a little cash for groceries that never got returned. I could name them all if I tried. $50 here, $200 there, small amounts that added up to more than my first paycheck could cover. Each request came wrapped in phrases like, "You're so good with money," or "I knew I could count on you." Emotional conditioning became routine. I was the responsible one. I was the adult in a house full of chaos. I remember Christmas mornings, looking at the half-wrapped gifts under the tree. My carefully budgeted gifts for Ethan had been borrowed to cover Mom's forgotten utility bills. I'd smile, pretending I didn't notice, stuffing the disappointment deep inside. Every time I confronted them, I heard the same lines: "You're imagining things," or "We'll make it up to you someday." But someday never came. High school graduation came, and the pattern persisted. I saved every tip from my part-time job to buy a car, my Civic, my little sanctuary. I remember showing Dad the paperwork proudly, feeling grown-up, independent. And yet he made offhand comments. "You really think a car is worth that much?" Like he had some invisible authority to diminish my joy. Mom's nods of agreement, subtle but present, reinforced the message: my accomplishments didn't matter. Even small moments left scars. A social media post from my mother last year flashed in my mind. A photo of a birthday party I had planned, the cake I had baked, shared online with a caption praising Ethan's family-first values, entirely omitting my contribution. The betrayal was public, digital, permanent. And that sting lingered longer than any offline confrontation ever could. I remember the nights I stayed awake, spreadsheets open on my laptop, tracking every payment I'd made to cover bills that weren't mine, counting every penny stolen in the guise of trust. It was exhausting, invisible labor, emotional and financial, piling up until I felt hollow. And yet, I kept going because that was my role: responsible Chloe, dependable Chloe, uncomplaining Chloe. Looking back, I can see now the threads connecting each incident to the Civic sale. It wasn't about the car, it was about power. Control. The constant testing of boundaries, the reinforcement that my needs, my hard work, my sense of autonomy, were secondary. Each little manipulation prepared me for this. Sold my car. No apology, no warning. Just the culmination of years of invisible exploitation. And yet, amidst the hurt, clarity begins to form. I see now what I didn't allow myself to see before: the pattern, the gaslighting, the financial takeovers disguised as guidance. And in that realization, a seed of something new grows. Anger. Resolve. A whisper that says, "This ends now." I stare out my bedroom window at the street where my Civic once stood, imagining its absence as both loss and catalyst. The sun sets, casting long shadows across the pavement, and for the first time, I notice the quiet truth. I can't change them, but I can change me. The betrayal is deep, but now it's no longer confusing. It's real. And for the first time in years, I feel the spark of clarity that whispers, power can be reclaimed. 2 days later, I open the mailbox and find a crisp white envelope, the return address unfamiliar. My fingers hesitate before pulling it out. Inside, a single letter. The ink is cold and clinical. The Civic has been sold. Payment has been processed. Ownership transferred. My stomach drops like it's trying to escape from my chest. I read it twice, 3 times, hoping for a mistake. But there's no error. My parents, without so much as a word, sold my car. The world tilts slightly. I pace across the living room, crumpling the letter in my hand, Daisy circling my ankles anxiously. The familiar hum of the refrigerator sounds harsh, almost accusatory. Ethan watches me from the couch, wide-eyed, clutching his blanket. "Chloe, what does this mean?" His voice is small, almost afraid. I kneel beside him, forcing a tight smile, but inside, my chest is heavy, tight, every breath a struggle. I try calling Mom again. Nothing. My texts go unanswered. The messages from Dad are brief, dismissive. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Every word lands like another weight on my shoulders. I feel shaking in my hands, a tension in my chest that refuses to subside. My vision blurs, and I have to close my eyes for a moment to steady myself. It's not just a car. It's freedom, independence, trust, everything I've been trying to build for myself. And they've ripped it away. I can't remember the last time I felt this helpless. It's a gnawing, twisting ache, the kind that seeps into your bones. I pace the driveway, imagining the Civic sitting somewhere else, maybe polished, maybe in someone else's hands, my efforts, my time, my memories, all commodified without permission. Then it hits me, like lightning in a dark sky. They'll never change. All the apologies, all the fleeting moments of care, were just illusions. The manipulation, the favoritism, the small betrayals, their patterns, ingrained too deep to be broken by a single confrontation. The Civic isn't just gone. It's a symbol of every boundary I've ever tried to assert and failed to hold. I sink to the curb, Daisy curling beside me, and Ethan slides next to me, tiny fingers gripping mine. I feel anger rise, raw and hot. I think of every spreadsheet, every late night, every dollar I've ever been forced to lend them or give up quietly. I think of all the promises broken, the nights I cried alone, the gaslighting that made me question my own sanity. And now the Civic. A spark ignites in that anger, a thought that refuses to be silenced. This isn't the end. It can't be. I realize for the first time that helplessness is a choice. Power is something I can reclaim, slowly, deliberately. My parents took something from me, but I can take something back, something bigger. The idea feels almost audacious, but the clarity is blinding. I'll start small. I'll assert control in little ways. And eventually, I'll take the ultimate step, something that ensures this pattern can't repeat. The thought alone makes my chest tighten, but this time with anticipation, not fear. I glance at Ethan's sleeping form on the couch later that night. Daisy rests her head on my lap. For the first time since morning, I feel the edges of hope, fragile but unmistakable. This betrayal, this final straw, has given me a gift I didn't expect, the first glimpse of my own power. And in the quiet, I whisper to myself, steady and low, they can't take everything. Not anymore. The next morning, I wake with a strange sense of calm. The panic from yesterday still lingers, but beneath it, there's something sharper, purpose. I brew coffee, the steam curling like tiny whispers of defiance, and sit at the kitchen table with a notebook open. Every transaction, every instance of manipulation over the years, every dollar taken or promised and not returned, I write it down. Numbers on paper, solid and unyielding, feel more powerful than words spoken in anger. Ethan pads into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. Breakfast, he asks softly. I smile at him, a genuine, small smile, the first in days. Yeah, pancakes. But this time, no syrup disasters, I promise. He giggles, and it's the sound of normalcy threading through the tension that's been weighing us down. Daisy bounces at our feet, tail wagging as if she senses the shift. I pull my laptop closer and log into the bank account my parents thought I didn't notice they'd accessed. There it is, the Civic sale amount, deposited into an account I can trace. My stomach tightens with anticipation, not fear. This is the spark I've been waiting for. Instead of despair, I feel calculation. I'll reclaim what's mine, but not in rage, strategically, deliberately. I call a lawyer I found online, Marissa Collins, who specializes in family financial disputes. She listens patiently as I explain every detail, every past transaction, every subtle theft disguised as helping out. By the time I hang up, I have not only clarity, but a plan. Step 1. Secure my finances. Step 2. Establish undeniable ownership. Step 3. Prevent future exploitation. Later, I drive to the dealership near my neighborhood, Not to buy a car, not yet, but to observe, to understand how this world of wheels and money works. I wander through rows of polished vehicles, the smell of new leather and gasoline filling my senses. I imagine the Civic among them, shiny and sterile, stripped of its memories with me. My pulse quickens, but it's no longer panic. It's motivation. I return home and begin small acts of rebellion, symbolic yet deliberate. I lock the spare keys in a new safe, change passwords on accounts my parents still had access to, and even redirect small automatic payments under my own control. The sense of empowerment is intoxicating. The air feels lighter. Sunlight pouring through the windows seems brighter, sharper. Ethan watches me work, eyes wide. "Chloe, you're different," he says. I grin, ruffling his hair. Different good or different scary? He laughs, and for a moment I almost forget the sting of betrayal. Almost. By evening, I sit in the quiet garage, imagining the Civic parked under my name again, keys in my hand, the engine purring to life. My fingers trace the curves of the empty steering wheel, the faint fingerprints on the door handle. Every small symbolic action, locking, controlling, reclaiming, is a declaration. I am in charge now. I take a deep breath and realize this is just the beginning. My rebellion is subtle, almost invisible to those who think they control me, but each act builds momentum. Canceling automatic payments, redirecting funds, locking doors, they are tiny victories stacked together, each one reclaiming a piece of my autonomy. I prepare a simple dinner for Ethan and me, pancakes and scrambled eggs, the smells filling the kitchen with warmth. We laugh over a minor mishap with the eggs, Daisy stealing a piece off the counter. It's ordinary, but ordinary feels revolutionary now. Joy feels like defiance. Freedom tastes like syrup and laughter. Before bed, I glance at my notebook, at the ledger of manipulation, the plan forming. I don't need anger to fuel me. Clarity and patience are more powerful. And for the first time in years, I feel in control. Not just of a car, not just of finances, but of the direction of my life. The last thing I do before lights out is whisper to myself, steady and certain. I'm taking back everything they took. And I'm doing it my way. It starts with a knock. Hard, insistent, rattling the front door. My heart jumps, but I don't run. I know who it is before opening it. Dad's voice carries through the wood. "Chloe, open this door now." Mom's follows, sharper, more cutting. "You have no right." I stand in the middle of the living room, Daisy at my heels, Ethan hiding partially behind the couch. I breathe in and out, deliberately slow, feeling the calm I cultivated over the past week settle in like armor. I don't move to open the door immediately. Let them yell. Let the fury hit my walls. The pounding grows louder, and so do their words, echoing through the hallway. "You're ruining everything," Dad shouts. "You can't control us." Mom's voice pierces with accusation. The chaos from the past years, the bills, the manipulation, the subtle betrayals, hits me all at once. But this time, I don't flinch. I open the door a crack. "I'm standing here," I say softly, but my words carry the weight of steel. The shock on their faces is immediate. They weren't expecting composure. They weren't expecting calm. I can see the calculations forming in their minds. How do we break her? How do we intimidate? Ethan peeks around my legs, wide-eyed. "Mom, Dad, why are you yelling?" His voice is small, tremulous, and it cuts through the tension like a knife. The human cost of their fury is suddenly visible. For the first time, their anger doesn't feel justified. It feels unnecessary, cruel. Dad steps closer, hands raised as if to grab, but Marissa Collins, the lawyer I called days ago, is suddenly at the curb, clipboard in hand, calm but commanding. "Step back. You've crossed a legal boundary," she says firmly. Her presence shifts the room. Neighbors peek from behind curtains. The sound of the city outside, the faint drone of cars, birdsong, feels like allies. Mom huffs, flustered, but says nothing. Dad glares but freezes. The power dynamics have shifted. I feel Ethan's small hand slip into mine, grounding me. He whispers, "Chloe, you're okay." And I nod. I am okay. You've sold property that isn't yours. That's theft, Marissa continues. Her words are precise, cutting through the storm with authority. My parents sputter, attempting protests, but the truth is undeniable, documented in emails, bank statements, and receipts I meticulously tracked. For once, I don't have to fight with just words. Evidence stands beside me. The tension is cinematic, every heartbeat amplified. Dad's face reddens with frustration, Mom's lips press into a tight line, but my calm holds. I step fully into the doorway, shoulders squared, voice steady. I will not allow this to continue. I'm setting boundaries. No more taking without asking. No more lies. No more manipulation. A long pause, then a soft, broken murmur from Mom. Am I not important enough? Ethan gasps quietly, the heartbreak in her words reflecting in his small face. But it's no longer a question I can answer with surrender. I shake my head gently. You're loved, but love doesn't mean control. Not anymore. The storm outside my door gradually subsides. My parents, defeated for now, retreat down the driveway. The echoes of their footsteps fade. I close the door, lock it, and exhale. Daisy nudges my hand, and I ruffle her fur, feeling the tension drain from my body. I turn to Ethan, smiling softly. It's over for now. He clings to me, relief and awe in his eyes. Outside, the sun dips lower, casting long shadows across the driveway, and for the first time in a long while, I notice the light. It's warm, safe. My calm has endured, my boundaries intact. For the first time, I feel moral victory not as a shout, but as quiet power. Not as retaliation, but as clarity. Not as revenge, but as justice, earned through steadfastness, planning, and restraint. The Civic may be gone, but the lesson is permanent. I will not be controlled. The next morning, the quiet is different. It's not heavy with fear or betrayal. It's lighter, almost electric with possibility. I step outside, Ethan's small hand in mine, Daisy trotting alongside, and notice the subtle gestures that had gone unnoticed before. Across the street, Jeremy waves, carrying a small basket of muffins. Mrs. Reynolds leaves a note on our porch. Thinking of you. Call if you need anything. For the first time in years, I feel surrounded not by obligation, but by genuine care. It's tangible, simple, ordinary acts of kindness that feel extraordinary against the backdrop of my recent heartbreak. A gift card from my manager, a neighbor offering to drive Ethan to soccer practice, homemade banana bread waiting on the kitchen counter. It's the opposite of manipulation. There's no expectation, no debt owed, no invisible ledger. I sit with Ethan on the couch, muffins and warm bread in hand, and watch him smile. His laughter is pure, the kind that melts tension, the kind I've been craving for months. Daisy rests her head on his lap, tail wagging lazily. For the first time, I notice how heavy the past had been. Not just the Civic, not just my parents' betrayals, but the isolation, the constant pressure to sacrifice my happiness for theirs. I pull out my ledger again, not to document wrongs, but to track healing. Bills balanced. Savings accounted for. Little victories listed. Each number, each transaction under my control, feels like a small reclamation of life. There's breathing room now, space I didn't realize I was deprived of. I glance at my phone. No urgent calls from Mom or Dad. No manipulative texts. The silence is comforting rather than oppressive. It's proof that boundaries work. The world outside my home hasn't changed, but the atmosphere inside has shifted. Home feels expansive, not suffocating. Later, I sit by the window, sipping coffee, watching sunlight filter through the leaves in the yard. Jeremy's kids play nearby, laughter spilling over the fence. I notice neighbors mowing lawns, chatting, waving. There's a quiet community around me that I had overlooked, lost in the chaos of manipulation and control. I realize now, support doesn't come from guilt or obligation. It comes from connection, empathy, and choice. I pull Ethan onto my lap. See all these people? They care because they want to, not because they have to. I say softly. He leans against me, nodding, understanding more than he can articulate. I like it when people are nice for real, he whispers. My heart swells. For once, the world isn't asking for repayment, isn't demanding loyalty, isn't threatening me with emotional blackmail. Practical healing begins too. I reorganize my finances, setting up new accounts, automating savings, ensuring that every transaction is fully under my control. Each small step builds confidence. Each decision reminds me that power is not taken, it's exercised deliberately, with thought and care. Even Daisy seems lighter. She runs through the yard, ears flapping, barking at leaves that tumble in the wind. I watch them both, Ethan and Daisy, and feel a rare sense of quiet joy. These ordinary moments are revolutionary when compared to months of emotional exhaustion. Before bed, I stand in the living room, glancing around the space that once felt like a trap. Now it feels open, safe, warm. For the first time, I understand what freedom feels like. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady and comforting. I whisper to myself, barely audible. For once, the house felt bigger. And it is. Bigger because I've claimed space, reclaimed control, and welcomed real support into my life. The Civic may still be gone, but the road ahead is wide, and for the first time in years, I feel capable of driving it myself. Weeks pass, and life settles into a rhythm I've longed for but never fully known. Mornings begin with sunlight spilling through the curtains, Ethan's laughter filling the kitchen as he pours cereal, Daisy dancing at his feet. I brew coffee, sit at the table, and open my laptop, not to manage someone else's chaos, but to map out my own future. I call my old financial advisor, Henry Lawson, and explain my plan. Slowly, deliberately, I begin researching car dealerships, observing sales trends, learning about inventory, loans, and management. It feels thrilling, this combination of strategy, control, and independence. For the first time, work doesn't feel like survival. It feels like creation. Ethan notices the change too. "Chloe, you're happy," he says one evening as we fold laundry together. I pause, folding a shirt, looking at him.
He's right.
I am. The worry no longer claws at my chest constantly. The anger, once raw and blinding, has transformed into focus, determination. I reply, smiling. And you're a big part of why. Small victories pile up. I enroll in night classes to strengthen business skills. I meet with small business owners for advice. I tour a few dealerships, envisioning how I could run one differently, fairly, with honesty, with a focus on community rather than manipulation. Every step feels like reclamation. Meanwhile, my parents attempt to reach out again, cautious, apologetic, as if testing waters they once thought they owned. I listen politely, explain my boundaries clearly, but decline any invitations or offers. Their attempts no longer unsettle me. I've learned the power of saying no without guilt, of placing my family, Ethan, Daisy, myself, first. A small breakthrough comes when I acquire a modest used car lot in the next town. It's not flashy, but it's mine. I walk among rows of vehicles, fingers brushing over polished hoods, imagining the customers I'll help, the stories I'll create here, the trust I'll build rather than exploit. I think about the Civic I lost years ago, and a quiet smile forms. This is bigger, better, mine in every sense. I hire a few employees carefully, people I trust, people whose values align with mine. Training, planning, budgeting, all are deliberate. Every detail a statement that I am in charge, that I won't repeat the mistakes of my parents' recklessness. Each sale, each handshake, each signed contract reinforces my autonomy. Back home, evenings are calm. I cook dinner with Ethan, painting a mural together in his bedroom, laughter spilling freely, Daisy curled in the corner. We share stories, dreams, plans. I watch him gain confidence, growing in ways that would have been impossible in the chaos of my past. Occasionally, I allow myself a glance at my journal. Pages once filled with ledgers of exploitation now carry notes of growth, budget goals, dealership ideas, community outreach, small celebrations. The transformation is tangible. The freedom I longed for, the independence I fought for, exists now not just in imagination, but in daily reality. One morning, I plant flowers along the edge of the dealership lot, bright blooms reaching toward the sun. I step back, hands on my hips, and look at the rows of cars, the signs, the newly painted office. I inhale deeply. This isn't just a business. It's my victory, my future, my world, built carefully, deliberately, without compromise. And in that moment, I feel steady, joyful, and free. For the first time, control is not a struggle. It's simply life lived on my terms. A year has passed. The Civic is long gone, replaced not by longing, but by purpose. I stand at the edge of the dealership lot, sunlight warming my face, Ethan tugging at my sleeve excitedly. Today is his birthday, and for the first time, the day feels fully ours, unshackled from the shadows of broken promises and manipulation. Rows of gleaming cars stretch across the lot, each one a testament to what careful planning and steady perseverance can create. I watch as Ethan runs ahead to greet a friend, laughter spilling into the crisp morning air, Daisy bounding behind him, tail wagging in joyful abandon. I inhale deeply, letting the scent of fresh paint and polished leather fill my lungs. Freedom has a smell, and I recognize it now. Moments like this have become our new normal. Occasional texts from my parents arrive, cautious and polite, but I respond with gentle firmness. Boundaries are maintained, and the sense of control is comforting. Love does not require compromise when it erodes self-respect. I've learned that lesson well. I glance at the small journal tucked under my arm. Pages are filled with reflections, notes on business growth, and milestones in Ethan's life. One entry stands out. Real family shows up. Boundaries equals peace. I smile softly, closing the book and tucking it back into my bag. It's no longer a reminder of pain, but a symbol of growth, resilience, and the choices that shaped us. Later, we gather for a modest birthday celebration at the lot, a picnic under a few balloons, laughter from neighbors and friends, gifts exchanged freely, without hidden agendas. I watch Ethan carefully open a model car, his eyes wide with delight. The symbolism isn't lost on me. We've reclaimed joy, independence, and trust in our own way. A small, unexpected moment arrives when a neighbor, one of the few who witnessed the chaos last year, leans over and whispers, "You did it, Chloe. You really did it." I nod, acknowledging not just the business, but the years of courage, planning, and emotional endurance it took to arrive here. The Civic may have been lost, but its absence paved the way for something far greater. As the sun dips lower, casting warm amber light across the lot, I feel a sense of completion settle deep inside. I watch Ethan running with his friends, Daisy in tow, and I think about how far we've come. There's no bitterness left, only clarity, independence, and the quiet joy of knowing that power, when reclaimed, is steady and deliberate. I glance at the horizon, at the cars, at the house and yard we call home, and speak softly, a single word carrying all the weight of the journey. Home. It's a word that tastes like sunlight, freedom, and the quiet victory of a life lived on one's own terms. A life rebuilt, boundaries respected, and love chosen carefully, deliberately. The Civic may have been the spark, but what followed was the fire of independence, resilience, and hope. We stand there a moment longer, mother and son, a dog at our feet, and I realize that real family shows up, not because of obligation, but because of presence, honesty, and respect. And for the first time, everything feels exactly as it should.